It was just past midnight when Emily sat alone in her small countryside home. The night outside was restless, wind whistling through the trees, rain tapping gently on the window pane. She was curled up on the sofa with a blanket and her favorite old book, trying to ignore the eerie silence that sometimes crept between gusts of wind. Then she heard it tap, 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 a faint, rhythmic knocking against the living room window. Emily looked up, confused. Her curtains fluttered slightly, though the window was closed tight. "Probably the wind," she whispered, half laughing to herself. But the sound came again, a bit louder this time. Top, top, top. Her heart began to race. She stood up, clutching the edge of her blanket. Slowly, she walked toward the window. Outside, nothing but the dark outline of trees swaying in the storm. No figure, no movement. The sound stopped. She exhaled, smiling nervously, until it began again. But now it was coming from the kitchen window on the other side of the house. Emily froze. There was no way the wind could make that sound from two different places at once. She turned off the lamp, letting the faint blue glow of lightning guide her steps. The air felt colder now, unnaturally cold. As she reached the kitchen, another sound joined in, a long, slow creak from the back door. She stopped breathing. Outside, the trees had gone still. No wind, no rain, only silence. Then came one final knock, 3 sharp taps on a glass, right beside her ear. She jumped back, heart pounding, eyes wide. But when she looked, there was only her own reflection staring back, pale and terrified. And then something in that reflection smiled. Emily stood frozen by the kitchen window, her breath fogging the glass. Her reflection had just smiled, but she hadn't. For a few seconds, she couldn't move. Then, with trembling hands, she grabbed her phone from the counter and tried to call someone. Anyone. No signal. She turned on a flashlight, but the beam flickered weakly and died. The battery drained in seconds. "No, no, no," she whispered, shaking it. The screen went black, leaving her in pitch darkness. Lightning flashed outside, flooding the house with a pale white glow for a heartbeat. And that's when she saw it. A faint shape standing at the end of the hallway. Her pulse roared in her ears. She blinked, and the shape vanished. She told herself it was her imagination, maybe the lightning, maybe her nerves. She needed light. Fast. Emily found a candle on the dining table and struck a match. The tiny flame flickered to life, casting soft golden light that barely reached the walls. She felt a little safer. Until Emily, her name, whispered softly from the darkness behind her. She spun around, the candle shaking in her hand. "Who's there?" Silence. The hallway seemed longer now, stretching endlessly into black. She took one hesitant step forward. The floor creaked beneath her. Then she heard it again, the whisper, closer this time. "Emily." Her throat tightened. The candle flame flickered violently, as if reacting to something unseen. A cold draft brushed her neck. She backed away slowly, eyes wide. "This isn't funny," she said, her voice trembling. Then came a faint exhale, someone breathing right next to her ear. Emily screamed, spinning around, but no one was there. The candle dropped from her hand. The flame snuffed out instantly. And in the darkness, something whispered again, softly, calmly. "Don't turn around this time." The whisper still echoed in Emily's ears. Her body trembled uncontrollably as she crouched in the dark, the faint smell of melted wax from the candle still lingering. She didn't dare move. Every creak of the house, every sigh of the old wood felt alive, watching her. Then she felt it again, that cold wind. But this time, the windows were all closed. Emily slowly stood up, her heart pounding like a drum. The faint moonlight seeped through the curtains, enough to paint dim silver patterns across the living room floor. The air around her felt heavy, as if the house itself was holding its breath. And then the curtains began to move. Not the gentle sway of a breeze. They shifted sharply, like someone had brushed past them from behind. Emily's breath hitched. She whispered, "No," and stepped closer. The curtains trembled again, rippling like waves, then stilled. Her instincts screamed to leave, but she forced herself forward. With trembling fingers, she reached out and pulled the curtain aside. Nothing, just her empty backyard, faintly glowing in the moonlight. No wind, no trees moving, total stillness. She let the curtain fall back and froze. In the reflection of the glass, she saw it, a dark outline, standing directly behind her. Her body went cold. She spun around, but the room was empty. The air, though, still felt occupied. The curtains behind her began to sway again, slowly this time, rhythmically, almost like breathing. The shape of a hand pressed faintly against the fabric from the inside, fingers dragging down the cloth, leaving faint streaks as if something had touched it. Emily stumbled backward, her foot catching the edge of a rug. She fell hard, and the last thing she saw before hitting the floor was the curtain gently parting on its own, and behind it, two faintly glowing eyes. Emily woke up on the cold floor, her body aching. The room was silent again, but the curtains were perfectly still now. No movement, no eyes. She told herself it was a dream, or maybe she had fainted. Anything but real. Her phone lay nearby, still dead. She picked it up, hoping it might have charged somehow, but it stayed black and lifeless. The faint reflection of her face appeared in the dark screen, pale and exhausted. She barely recognized herself. Something in that reflection caught her eye, movement behind her. Emily turned around instantly. Nothing there. She exhaled shakily and looked back at the screen. The reflection was still moving. Her stomach dropped. Slowly, she turned her head toward the large mirror hanging across the hallway. The dim light from outside faintly illuminated it. Her reflection stood there, but something was wrong. It wasn't copying her exactly. When she lifted her hand, it hesitated. When she blinked, it blinked a heartbeat later. And then it smiled, a wide, unnatural grin spreading across her reflection's face while hers remained frozen in horror. Emily stumbled backward, knocking into a chair. The reflection didn't move this time. It just watched. Her breath quickened. "This isn't real," she whispered. "It's just my mind." But then her reflection tilted its head slightly to the side and whispered, "Are you sure?" Her body went rigid. That voice wasn't hers. It came from the mirror. The light flickered, and for a split second, she saw dozens of faint faces behind her reflection, blurred, whispering, pressing their hands against the inside of the glass. The mirror began to rattle violently, the sound like fingernails scratching from the other side. Emily screamed and threw a vase at it. The glass shattered across the floor. But in every broken shard, her reflection was still there, and they were all smiling. Shards of glass glittered across the floor like pieces of frozen moonlight. Emily's reflection stared back from every fragment, smiling, motionless, patient. She wanted to run, but her legs felt heavy, as though the air around her had thickened. Then came the sound, a slow, creaking groan from somewhere deeper in the house. The kind of sound an old wooden door makes when it moves, all on its own. Emily froze. The front door. She turned toward the hallway. The handle was turning, inch by inch. The hinges whined softly. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as the door slowly swung open, revealing the cold, empty night outside. Wind, or what she hoped was wind, drifted in, carrying the faint scent of earth and something metallic like rust or blood. "Hello," she whispered. No answer, just silence. She took a single, hesitant step forward. The temperature dropped sharply. her breath now visible in the air. The door began to move again, creaking wider until it stood fully open. The darkness beyond seemed thicker than before, swallowing the faint glow of her candlelight. Then she heard it. Footsteps, soft, deliberate, and slow, approaching the doorway from outside. "Who's there?" she said, louder this time, trying to sound brave. The footsteps stopped. For a moment, everything went completely still. Then, very gently, the door began to close by itself. Emily's pulse quickened. She took a step backward, not daring to look away. The door clicked shut softly. Relief flooded her chest for a heartbeat, until she noticed something that hadn't been there before. A muddy footprint, right in the middle of her living room floor. And then another appeared beside it, slowly forming, as if someone invisible was walking toward her. She backed into the wall, whispering through trembling lips, "Please, just leave me alone." But the last footprint stopped only a few feet away, and the unseen thing whispered, "You open the door, Emily." "Not me." Emily's eyes locked on the fresh footprints, wet, dark, and glistening against the wooden floor. They stopped only a few feet away from her, but there was no one there. Nobody's. No sado. Just that terrible, heavy silence pressing in from every wall. Her trembling hand clutched the edge of a table for balance. The house felt alive now. Every board creaked, every sound had meaning. She needed to get out, but when she turned toward the front door, it was sealed shut. The handle wouldn't move. It was as if something was holding it closed from the outside. Then she heard it, a faint click, then a low whirring sound coming from beneath the floorboards. The basement. Her basement door stood at the far end of the hallway, half hidden behind a shelf. She had barely opened it since moving in. With each reluctant step toward it, the sound grew clearer, mechanical, distorted, almost human. She hesitated at the top of the basement stairs. "Hello." No response. Just that faint, repeating sound, like a tape recorder playing something backwards. She switched on the dim stair light. It flickered once and died. Shadows swallowed the steps below. Still, the sound continued. Emily gathered what little courage she had left and descended slowly. Each step groaned beneath her weight. The air was freezing, thick with dust and the scent of damp concrete. And then she saw it, an old tape recorder sitting on a wooden crate, spinning slowly. It was playing her voice, her own voice, recorded only minutes ago. "Who's there?" She stared, paralyzed. The tape clicked, rewound on its own, and played again. "Who's there?" Then the tape hissed, and the voice that answered wasn't hers. "I'm here now, Emily." The recorder stopped. A shadow moved at the edge of the light, tall, still, waiting, and from the dark, something whispered, "Come closer." Emily's pulse pounded so loud it felt like thunder in her chest. The voice from the tape recorder still echoed in her head. "I'm here now, Emily." She backed up toward the stairs, but something deep in her bones told her not to turn her back to the darkness. The basement light flickered once more, just long enough for her to glimpse it. A tall shadow, too thin, too long, standing perfectly still behind the wooden beams. Its head tilted slightly, as if listening. Emily gripped the stair railing and ran. Each step groaned under her desperate weight, but just before she reached the top, a sudden blast of cold wind slammed the basement door shut, trapping her inside. She screamed and pounded the door, but no sound escaped. It was like the air itself swallowed her voice. Then the whisper came again. Only this time, it wasn't behind her. It was everywhere. "Why are you running, Emily? You called me." She spun around, heart racing. The basement was empty now. The recorder lay silent. Yet the voice came closer, soft, layered, almost like multiple people speaking in unison. "I didn't," she gasped. But the whisper cut her off. "You opened the door. You let the wind in." The air grew violent, swirling dust around her in a small vortex. Every loose object in the room began to shake. The old tape recorder switched on by itself and played her voice once again. Only this time, it said something she never remembered saying. "I'm ready." Her blood ran cold. The basement door suddenly burst open, light flooding in from above, but not daylight. A flickering, icy blue glow filled the air, and in that glow stood her own reflection, smiling that same impossible smile. Then, the whisper spoke one last time, softly, lovingly. "It was never the wind, Emily. It was me." And the light went out.